death. It's the one thing we all have in common, right? But some people come face to face with it and live to tell the story. I'm not talking about near-death experiences or I saw a light at the end of the tunnel bullshit. No, these are real encounters with death, haunted houses, murdered souls, and the kind of unexplainable things that make you wish you'd never fucking heard about them. Welcome to Holy Fucking Horror. You guys know I love a good haunted house story, right? But this one's different. This is the kind of story that makes you sleep with the lights on. In 1998, this girl, Lisa, moved into her dream home on Elmwood Drive. Picture it, small, charming house at the end of a quiet street. You know, the kind of place you see in movies, except this place wasn't exactly a dream. It was more like a fucking nightmare. From the moment Lisa stepped inside, the air felt heavy, like something was watching her. But hey, new house, old pipes, right? That's what she told herself. At first, it was just weird vibes. You know that feeling you get? Like someone's standing behind you even though you're home alone. Yeah, that creepy, crawly feeling. But then things escalated. One night, Lisa woke up to the sound of footsteps coming from the hallway. Slow, deliberate footsteps, like someone was dragging their feet. But when she got up to look, no one was there, and she was the only one home. Lisa tried to shake it off, but the sounds kept getting worse. Doors slammed shut on their own. Whispers filled the house at night, and shadows, real, moving shadows, flickered along the walls. It was like something was trying to get her attention or mess with her head. One night, Lisa was lying in bed, trying to ignore the creepy sounds, when she felt something ice cold touch her arm. I'm talking freezing cold, like touching a corpse. She freaked out, obviously. Who wouldn't? She threw the covers back and looked down at her arm, and there, pressed against her skin, were handprints. Small, child-sized handprints burned into her fucking skin. Lisa was like, okay, that's it. I'm out of here. She wasn't about to stick around and find out what the hell was making those handprints. But before she bounced, she did some digging. Turns out back in the 70s, a young girl named Alice died in that house, found strangled in the very room Lisa slept in. The killer was never caught. But guess what? Every owner since then claimed to hear Alice's voice, and none of them stayed longer than a year. They all reported the same things: footsteps, whispers, shadows, and those creepy ass handprints. Lisa, she fucking ran out after 6 months. She couldn't take it anymore. She still says Alice haunts her nightmares, though. She says she can still feel those cold, tiny handprints on her arm, even after all these years. Okay, so you ever hear a knock on your door late at night and think, who the fuck is that? Like, is it a serial killer, a lost pizza delivery guy, or maybe a ghost? Yeah, that's what happened to this dude Greg in 2012. Greg lived in this rundown trailer park just outside Atlanta. Nothing special about the place, just your average kind of depressing trailer park. But that changed real quick one rainy night in September. It was around 2 a.m. and Greg was trying to sleep through the sound of the rain pounding on his roof when he heard a loud knock at the door. 3 hard, distinct knocks. He wasn't expecting anyone, obviously. Who the hell would be out in that weather? But curiosity got the better of him. He had to see who it was. He opened the door, and standing there, drenched in the rain, was a man. This guy was pale as fucking snow, wearing an old leather jacket. He looked like he'd been through some shit. The guy didn't say a word, just stared at Greg with these sunken, dead eyes, like he was looking right through him. Before Greg could even ask if he was okay, the man turned and walked away, disappearing into the darkness and the rain. Greg was like, what the hell was that? He shut the door and tried to forget about it. But the next morning, he found out that same man had been fucking murdered 3 days earlier in a hit and run just down the road. The weird part? Greg swore the guy had been alive when he saw him. He said he looked real, solid, not like a ghost or anything. After that, shit got real strange. Greg would hear knocking every night at the same time, 2 a.m. without fail. 3 knocks, just like that first night. Sometimes it came from the front door, sometimes from the goddamn walls. The scariest part, the man's ghost never said a word, just knocked and stared. Greg moved out a month later, but he swears the knocking still haunts him. No one ever figured out who hit the guy or why his ghost decided to fuck with Greg. The highway of death. You ever drive down a lonely highway and feel like something's watching you? That's because sometimes something freaking is. This story, this is about the highway of death. That's what locals call this one stretch of road in Texas. It's dark, isolated, and it's seen more unexplained deaths than any other road in the state. No one knows why, but I'm about to tell you 3 reasons you'll never want to drive it alone. In 2005, this young couple was driving home late at night after a party. They were on that highway, the highway of death, when their car suddenly died. No cell service, no traffic, just them and the dark. The guy got out to check the engine. His girlfriend stayed in the car. That was her mistake. She later told police she heard a soft voice whispering from the back seat, like someone was right behind her, breathing down her neck. When she turned around, she saw a man crouched in the shadows of the back seat. He was blood-soaked, his clothes were torn, and blood was dripping from his mouth. He had this creepy grin on his face, like he was enjoying her terror. She screamed, and the guy came running back to the car. By the time he opened the door, the man in the back seat was gone, vanished into thin air. The couple was found on the side of the road the next morning, both dead, no sign of struggle, no explanation. The coroner said their hearts just stopped, like they were scared to death. And they weren't the only ones. Dozens of similar deaths have been reported along that highway. people's cars breaking down, seeing that creepy figure in their back seat, and then their hearts just giving out. The last thing people see before they die. A man, blood-soaked, smiling in their rear-view mirror. 3 encounters with death, haunted houses, murdered souls, and that fucked up thing we all fear, the unexplainable. Death doesn't care where you live or how safe you think you are. So, if you've had your own brush with death, you're not alone. If you're still breathing after hearing these stories, hit that like button, or you might just get a knock on your door tonight. And remember, subscribe, or death might just pay you a visit sooner than you think.